In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 4 books that I almost DNF. But this year, I said I was going to challenge myself to not be so quick to DNF a book. I want to get through the books. And surprisingly enough, out of the 4, because I didn't DNF it, I wound up enjoying the books. So let's get into these 4 books I almost DNF. My name is Raquel. I talk about all things Black books. Welcome and welcome back. So the first book is Pressure Cooker by Mal Dahl. Um, this was a surprise to me. I have never read a Mal Dahl book that I did not enjoy up until now. If I had to give it a star rating, I would probably give it like a 3. The thing that I did not like about this book is it felt like 2 separate books. So there is the main female character whose name is Fiona. She is a student surgical, a medical surgical student. And she has a boyfriend. Her boyfriend betrays her. And as retaliation, she practices her surgical skills on him. She has a friend, study buddy, who calls her on FaceTime. He's a guy who's attracted to her. He sees these specks of blood on her face and asks her, "Hey, what are you doing? What's that on your face?" She tries to wipe it off, but smears it, and she lets him know that she is practicing her surgical skills on her boyfriend. Instead of being alarmed like a normal person, he decides he's going to go over there and he's all happy and ecstatic. And never mind the fact that she did not tell him where she lived. So he goes over there. She is, super excited. "Look at what I did. I told you I can do it." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, you did a good job." And he's trying to get her focused so that they can leave. He's called somebody to come and clean this up. Now, that blew me away, thinking, how how do you know somebody who would clean this up? Like, where did that come from? Now, I didn't trip too much because it is the very beginning of the book. So he takes her from there, brings her to live with him because she lived with her boyfriend's. So now she needs a place to live. She lives with him. And then they start to have this relationship. Turns out to be like a 20-year relationship. They have kids, they're doctors, and they have this little side thing that he had been doing, which is how he knew who to call. And then he brings her in on it. And they live 75% of what I would call a normal life. So it felt like 2 different books. And that was the thing that uh, made me give this book a 3 stars, because I didn't feel like the 2 of them connected. It felt like a thriller, suspense, and an urban romance. Then we've got To Protect and Love by Sin. This is my second book by Sin. The first book by Sin I enjoyed very much. I think I talked about it in the very last video I did. So this one is about a young lady who is a chef, very good chef, works at a high-end restaurant, and um, her and her boyfriend live together. Toxic boyfriend, doesn't work, doesn't help with bills, doesn't clean up, doesn't do anything. He's so toxic that he actually got her fired from her job. Now she is selling plates, and he is just not pitching in any kind of way, and she is very upset because he made her lose her job. I would be upset too. And now she's selling plates out of her kitchen, and he doesn't, I mean, like, he could at least help there. He doesn't even want to help there. He just wants to eat the food that she's making. Like, come on, get out of here, dude. And so her friend convinces her to go to a party. Now, between her selling plates at her house and her going to this party, she has decided that she's not going home. She doesn't live there anymore. Um, that was super weird. But they go to this party. Then you have this guy who is an underground fighter, and he has just won a fight. His opponent's girlfriend is there. He takes his opponent's girlfriend to this party, so they all wind up in the same place at this party. He sees her, um, kind of disses the girlfriend of his opponent, and now he's on remedy. And that was another thing about this particular book. It's almost like he's two separate people because the way they portray him in humiliating his opponent, taking his girlfriend, and then disrespecting the girlfriend, and all of this to go to remedy. And he needs a live-in chef. He interviews her by having her cook a meal from his refrigerator, which there's really nothing in the refrigerator. And so she comes up with a great meal. He enjoys it. He hires her. Now, he tells her to get her stuff. She goes to get her stuff, and she comes back with like just a duffel bag. And he's like, "Well, where's your stuff?" And she's like, "Well, it's at my house." Then she starts giving him information on this toxic boyfriend. He goes with her, helps her, takes care of the situation, takes care of the boyfriend, helps her clean up. Now, this is where he seemed like a whole different person. Now he's kind, he's helpful, he's respectful. All of these things that he wasn't when the book first started. And I'm kind of like, is this the same person? Like he was super rude and disrespectful to, like, just I I I could not reconcile that this was the same person. So he starts to tell her, "Yeah, you and my girl, we gonna be together." She lets him know that's not her focus. She needs to get a job. She wants to, starts telling her what her goals are. And so he makes a bet with her that if he can make her fall in love with him within a particular time frame, that she is going to stay with him, live with him, be his girlfriend, the whole thing. So that's a bet. So now he does things intentionally to get her to fall in love with him. Now, this part I really liked because he was intentional. He took her out on dates. He handled some situations for her. He introduced her to his family, like, you know, really took his time and, was getting to know her, spending time with her, all of these things. So that part of the book I liked. There were different parts of all of these books I liked, but if I had to give this one a star rating, that would also be a 3. The pacing was a bit slow to me, and the book was disconnected. There were pieces of it that I enjoyed, but as the book as a whole, I did not. And then we have A Legendary Love by T. Lynn. Now, I have enjoyed some of T. Lynn's books. All the Smoke was one of my favorite books of 2024. So, in this book, you have a young lady who is graduating from school. She is going to be a chef as well. A chef as well. And she has another toxic boyfriend who lives in her house. He came to live with her, promised to split the bills and do all these things. And in exchange, he has done none of the above. He has not split the bills. He doesn't help clean up. He brings his friends over. They make a mess. They don't clean it up. He is using all of his money for his appearance. So he dresses well, has a nice shiny car, but he isn't doing anything to help her. When they go out, she is paying for their dates. And it's just getting to a point where she doesn't want to do it. So they have this blow up, and then she goes out to brunch or dinner or lunch or whatever it is with a friend of hers. Um, they have their meal, and after the meal, the waitress tells them that their food is already taken care of. She thinks that it is her boyfriend. This is his way of saying he's sorry. She decides she's going to go to the bathroom. She bumps into this guy who is Loyal. Loyal just got out of jail. I mean, just got out of jail. He gets out of jail. His brother comes to pick him up in a Maserati that his family bought for him now that he's out of jail. He supposedly works with his family. They don't say what he does for his work. He never takes a meeting. He isn't talking to anybody on the phone. Like, he just got money out of thin air. I don't know where he gets his money from. Like, normally we would get some kind of background on, where they get money from, especially when you buy her a G Wagon and you buy her a house and, just doing all these different things. And we don't know where this money's coming from. I would have liked to have seen him in action. They have this one conversation with his dad about him getting, um, I want to say back into the game, but I don't think that those were the actual words that was used for, you know, for what they were talking about. Those are my words. So we don't really know what he does. He is very unlikable, very rude. I made a list, sorry. He's unlikable, he's rude. He is very disrespectful to her sister. He's disrespectful to her. And sorry, let me get back on track. So he tells her, yeah, I'm the one who paid for your food and your flowers or whatever. She's like, well, I have a boyfriend. He's like, no, you don't have a boyfriend. You're gonna be my baby mama. I don't want to ever hear you say anything about a boyfriend again. So she starts to call him Andre. So from this point on, she is now calling her boyfriend Andre when she's talking to him. So all of these demands that he's putting on her, she's accepting them. She comes off feisty at times, but for her to not think some of this stuff through is like, it doesn't make sense. He tells her he's going to take her out. She says, yeah, instead of just saying, I don't want to go out with you. She tells him, yeah, because she thinks he doesn't know where she lives. He shows up at her house to take her out. Remember, her and her boyfriend live together. So this man comes to your house, your boyfriend lives in the house with you, although he isn't there, but you still go out on a date with him. Like, there's another time when they are getting ready to go out, he shows up and she's got her nephew there and she tells him, I can't go because I have my nephew with me. And he says, well, bring him on. And they go to get in her car and he says, you're riding with me. She continues to get in the car because she's like, no, I'm going to drive. He shoots out her tire while her nephew is in the car. She gets upset. She's pushing him and, yelling and screaming and whatever. And then she gets her nephew out of the car, puts him in his car, and gets in his car, and then they go. So if you are mad enough to do all this yelling and screaming and pushing him and whatever else, or slap him or whatever it was you did, why do you still get in the car with him? Like, it just doesn't connect for me. It doesn't connect for me. Um, her He's disrespectful to her sister. He cusses her sister out. He calls her names. He calls her names to her face. He calls her names in front of her parents. He calls her names in front of her. But he knows something about the sister that she does not know and that we don't know for a long time. You could probably guess what it is, but we don't know. Like, and how do you even know this stuff? Like, we don't have any kind of understanding of what you do or who you know or how you even know this information. You just know it. Like, there is a lot of dots that aren't connected in this book, and I would give this book a 3 stars as well. And then last but not least is Forever Certified. Now, Forever Certified is a spinoff from uh, Certified Pressure. You have Tony and Kalo who are together. This is their book. Tony is her background is she was raised in a house by her grandmother. You have a bunch of people living in a house that's too small. A lot of her cousins, aunties, uncles, whatever. The grandmother takes care of everybody. She doesn't really have the means to do so. So Tony loved her grandmother. So it isn't a matter of that. It's more so of just not having the things that she needs. So at a young age, she gets a job and she's got to kind of help out and take care of herself. She decides to go on this show, um, possibly to put herself in a bigger position. That's how she meets Kalo. Kalo comes from a prominent, wealthy family. He's never wanted for anything. Everything has always been good. Kalo and Tony get married. His father, who is like his mentor, they are a very close family, does not like Tony. He doesn't have a reason not to like her because he doesn't know her. I think what he doesn't like is that her background is different from theirs. However, Kalo loves her, and so he has a conversation with his dad about her. It doesn't stop him from liking her, but it does calm down some of the friction. Tony finds out that there is something happening with Kalo. He has something going on. No, everybody knows it. Tony is the only one who doesn't know. Everybody knows it, but they ignore it like that's just Kalo. You know that? That's just how they are. That's what they are doing with him. And Tony has to live with him. So while you only spend a few hours with him, I literally have to sleep next to him, wake up with him, spend time with him, talk to him, just do all of these things that you guys are not doing. So it's affecting her in a different way. And so Tony is trying to get Kalo to get some help. He doesn't want to because his father, who is an older man, old school, feels like you don't need any help because help means weakness. And he's imparted that into Kalo. So Kalo subconsciously knows he needs help, but he doesn't want to be seen as weak. Eventually, she does get him to a point where he accepts that he needs help, but his father steps in on the back end and causes more problems than need to be caused for no reason other than he's in his feelings. He's got this macho thing going on, which means if there's something wrong with his son, then there's something wrong with him and his whole lineage. What made me not connect to the book in the beginning was this part of the story just kept going on and on and on. I wanted them to get into something else. Now, there are other things happening in the book, but this is kind of the main story. And it seemed like it was dragging on and on. I put all of these books down multiple times before I was able to finish them. However, when I finished Forever Certified, I did enjoy it. It took a while for me to get into the second half of the book to enjoy it. And so that first part where they were going on and on was probably really necessary in order for me to get the full effect or to understand the weight of this situation. And so I appreciated it after I read it. But during the time I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, please move on from this. I was contemplating DNFing all of these books at one time or another, some of them at multiple points in times. But I didn't, and I'm so proud of myself for not putting them down. I want to know, do you DNF books or do you just push through? And if you do DNF books, what is a good reason to DNF a book? I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and do all of the YouTube things like, comment, share, subscribe. Until next time, see you soon.